Dear colleagues, first I would like to say that I'm really glad to see that our colleagues, they are remembering some things that I said and they agree with them. And all the show and everything, what it is around this is really good, I say. And also from artistic perspective, I think we have some kind of renaissance in art, maybe also in science with AI. And renaissance means rebirth actually. And it's flourishing. It's really good to see. And today's story is also about this. You will see, and I place it into the Bronze Age. And bronze, as you know, is an alloy of copper. It's usually 90% of it, and tin 10%. And you can add also other things. So how this happened? It happened gradually. Someone accidentally put the things together, and also in the war they may be together, and they saw it really gives much better specifications. And yes, alloys, they're a mixture of two or more metals, and they increase usually the strength and other things of material. And that is because of if you have pure element, iron or maybe copper or aluminum, they're really easy to break. Because of the lattice, how atoms are combined like a stack of cards, and they easily break. But if you give some other things, for example, in steel, you give CO2, chemists and metallurgists will know better, and you get a steel which is very strong. Then in aluminium, you give only 1% of copper, and it's also very good. And besides that, we will have also mathematics. It's a summer of mathematics, which will not last long because the college will soon close its doors for 1 month. So we will have only to the end of the month, and I hope it will be useful. So let's move to the blackboard. So let us begin with a story. For example, you come home with a piece of clay and you say to your wife, I will make you a cone. She asks, a cone, what's that? I don't know, just a souvenir that it will remind you of me when I'm gone from away. She says, okay. And then you ask her, what kind of cone do you like? Cone looks something like this. Then it can be also smaller area but much higher with this volume. They have the same volume. Or it can be like this. And she says, well, make it so that the area of the cone will be the largest possible. So maximize the area. And what you do, you use Lagrange multipliers. And they go also very good with variational calculus together, and they are part of optimization, which is also present in neural networks, in physics, in engineering, everywhere. So it's good to know about Lagrange multiplier. So we write here Lagrange multipliers like this. And what it's all about, we form a function L, and we will do for the simplest two-dimensional case with x and y component, just too easy, because it's easier to understand on simple case, then you can move on. So x, y, and also function of lambda, which is function that we are optimizing, is function of x and y, minus, it can be also plus lambda, g, which is a constraint, and is also a function of x and y. So you can have here x1 to xn, and you can even put more lambdas, lambda 1 to so on. And what we do, we search for the nabla of this function L, which is simply partial L of x, partial L of y, and maybe even partial L to lambda transpose. And this is equal to vector 0. And now we have our cone. Excuse me. We have our cone, and the area of cone will be f, which will be now a function of r and h. R is radius and h is height of this cone. And we also, this is PR, you can do it by yourself. This is area of the base, and then you have square root r squared plus h squared. And volume of the cone, we had this in previous lectures, is simply 1/3 by r squared h. And this will be the function g of r and h. And then the procedure is simple. Partial L of r is partial f of r minus lambda partial g of r, and L h is f partial h minus lambda g partial h. Is 0, is 0. And from these two equations, you get lambda, you equate these two, and the result is r is h divided by 2 times square root of 2. And there you have it. So thank you again for your attention, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you will enjoy the story, as always, that there are things that will inspire you, and I'm inspired by you as well. So, bye.
In the heart of the Bronze Age, there were many scattered villages. Life was a rhythmic cycle of survival. Folks mostly kept to their own hearths, gathering only when the hunt demanded collective effort or when foraging led them to share patches of berries. In one such village lived Kaldor, a man with a vision. One crisp autumn evening, as he sat by his fire, a faint rhythmic drum carried on the wind. It was unlike any sound he knew, yet unmistakably human-made. He realized it was coming from the neighboring valley, from a village they rarely encountered. A spark ignited within him. What if these sounds could bring them closer, not in a silent hunt, but in shared joy? The next day, Kaldor embarked on a journey. He reached the neighboring villages where he spoke of an idea, a gathering, a music competition between their villages. The notion was met with hesitant curiosity, then burgeoning excitement. Word spread, carried by hunters and foragers. When the day of the gathering arrived, the central clearing, usually reserved for seasonal rites, buzzed with anticipation. People from all villages, very at first, slowly mingled. Then the music began. There were drums fashioned from hollowed logs and stretched hides, flutes carved from bone and reeds that sang like birds, and strange string instruments unlike anything Kaldor had ever seen. One woman clapped out complex rhythms with polished stones, another blew across a series of clay pots, creating haunting tones. One village even brought the bells which came from distant China. There was no formal judging, no clear victory. Each performance was met with enthusiastic cheers. Everybody was dancing like crazy. It wasn't about who played best. It was about the shared experience, the discovery of common ground beyond the need for food or safety. In that moment, surrounded by the vibrant sounds and newfound camaraderie, there weren't just Bronze Age villagers. They were creators, listeners, and friends, experiencing a prehistoric renaissance of connection and culture. Eventually, Kaldor was proclaimed to be the winner, although ironically, he never had composed a single song by himself. He received a bronze medal for the first place, since it was Bronze Age.
Look who we have here. It's a Poopy. Poopy, hello. He doesn't care.